guess I'll just hand the mic down and stuff as we do this. But I wanted to ask, Charles and Sarah Violet and Michael, you two, about how doing this as a TV show as opposed to doing it as an indie film or a film. What did you guys think? How come it fits so well in this medium? I guess let's say. I guess I could. It might be only one mic, but I could. We got more there? No, I'll walk them down. It's fine. Yeah, it's totally fine. So this is Charles and Sarah Violet. Say hi to them. So doing it as a TV show as opposed to like a movie.
Well, we're very blessed to be working with Jack. We made this pilot independently, and we really approached it like an indie film, and that was a really amazing luxury because Jack's Media produced the pilot. And then we sold it to TBS, who has really embraced and leaned into our vision. And it feels like we're making an independent film. I think the biggest difference for us in approaching this creatively is the fact that it is a serialized TV show. So we get to explore what happens over a longer course of time and how these people who are changing and need to change will change over time.
Yeah, and how much of this story did you guys have mapped out? Because it ends on such a great cliffhanger. I cannot wait to see where this goes. But like, how much of it did you know, going into making the pilot, and how much has evolved, I guess, since you're going to start doing it?
Yeah. Okay. We kind of. I'll speak for myself, and they can disagree with me. But I mean, we sort of had an idea of what happens in the story, but also we're kind of like not sure what happens either, and so part of the fun of it has been kind of making up where this all goes, and so right, is that a fair answer to that? It was more just sort of like it just seemed like an exciting. We were more just thinking like to create those cliffhanger moments and to create a lot of questions to be answered, and then the fun of writing the show is that we get to kind of answer those questions ourselves. Yeah.
How much stuff in the pilot did you guys intentionally like leave in there as kind of like ambiguous? Watching it a second time, I feel like seeing even like I was like reading into some of that character's looks. Like John has a look where I was like, oh maybe.
And that's what we want. I'll speak for myself. I have to always speak for myself. We want people to question, to speculate and guess at what's happening and who did what, and I mean, John Reynolds' character acts very weirdly uninterested in the picture when she first shows it to him.
Right.
Does that mean something?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Tune in next week.
Or is it bad acting? Who's to say? Have a good time at the fest.
I wanted to talk about the cast. Obviously, great cast here, and we have a lovely bunch of them here with us today. Alia, for you playing this character, what really excites you about kind of exploring where she's going to go? I guess in the rest of the episode, because it's a really interesting character.
What excites me about that?
Yeah, I think so. And what are you hoping to see happen with her?
Well, I've read the scripts now.
Right.
So.
You know.
So I know, and I'm very excited about it. I really like where the character's going. It's very interesting. It's better just to not say anything, because time's gonna pass and then the show's gonna come back on air and you'll be like, oh yeah, that thing I saw at South by Southwest, I'm gonna watch that. So anything I say right now is kind of doesn't really matter. But
don't go down this road, whatever road you're about to go down.
Life is
We're done.
No.
Thank you very much, everyone. This is Shorty TBS.
No, but I think that bring it back. Even just in the pilot, there is such a. And watching it again today is there's such a nice arc of where it ends. You see this kind of subtle build up for her throughout it, and then it's just it's kind of sad. It's rough. You're just man, it's hard. She's just taking it down on herself. But I think it's gonna be interesting to see how all the characters kind of how long they could stand to kind of be around each other and you know what I mean, and the reality of their friendships, how fragile are they, and then how strong are others that we don't know, and they just all, we haven't shot it yet, but they're all gonna flush out, I think, in a really nice way that I'm excited to do.
What was it?
We actually start shooting the series in 2 weeks.
Right.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
What was it like having to curse out John on the street there? That was great. I think the audience would really like that as well. Good job, John, too.
Thank you. It's in my wheelhouse.
That was, I think, the last scene that we shot of the pilot. It was really fun. Like, you know, I did it like a couple of takes, and then I think the last one, everybody was just like, go for it, or like the classic thing of like, have fun with this one, you know. And I did. I really, I like the way that my voice goes like, shut the fuck up.
It echoes too in the streets of Manhattan.
Yeah.
Fun fact, that orange drink I was drinking, it is a drink. It's real liquid, but the ice is fake.
Movie magic. You'd have never known.
Get out of town.
TV magic.
You
Continuity.
mentioned the sadness a little with your character. I feel like the pathos on the show is really strong, and like with Meredith's character too. I feel like I love. It's like she's so awful in the beginning, but then you really feel bad for her at the end, and it's like really like, kind of like turning the expectations on that character in this really fun and interesting way. I think for the audience.
It's a total blast because I think through the lens from which these guys see comedy is understanding that like it's fundamentally can be really sad, and the funniest stuff I think comes it's like, but in terms of just for us this range that we get to explore in moments being very broad, but also having this sort of grounded then explored vulnerability is a blast.
Did you guys talk? I mean, like obviously, when you were shooting the pilot, did the cast? Did you guys all speculate what happened to Chantal and stuff? I mean, like at all?
Well, it's weird because I feel like a fan. I feel like I'm like even reading the scripts. It's this excitement of like uncovering this mystery. I don't know.
My first thought was like, maybe it's all in Dory's head, you know.
Yeah.
A lot of stories go that way.
Man. Like
It's not all in her head.
Or is it?
Lily, you've worked on like
This is all
so
in my
many
head.
great. Sorry, you've worked on so many great TV shows like Broad City and Inside Amy Schumer and stuff. What about like, and they have a common thread of all being really good, I would say. So like this as well. What like when you see something like this, you know right away that it's going to be good, or like how does that work for you?
I did know right away. And I told them all on the first scene of the first day that the show was going to get picked up and made into a series. It just felt so right. And in this show, the combination of drama and plot heavy and like it's going to have this pace where you're desperate to see the next episode. But at the same time, that complexity made the comedy funnier, which is I think was maybe a little bit unexpected. But that as the darker it went and the more dangerous, and it really gets like gruesome and scary. But all of those moments actually made the comedy more specific and more funny because the contrast makes the show even stronger. So I'm very excited for this one.
Yeah, I mean the ending. The second time I've seen it, to humble brag slightly, and I really like. It gives me chills. Then the way that you guys cross cut between like her reveal of seeing Chantal and like the search party finding her blouse or whatever. It's just so. It's really intense and like really well done and like kind of like a great mystery show. I just love it so much.
Well, for all of us that work in comedy, I think that it's so exciting to have a show that makes the hair on the back of the neck stand up, and we all feel that still when we rewatch it.
Yeah, it's just so great. Was there any like for you guys like great mysteries that inspired you, like any other shows or any kind of movies or anything?
Manhattan Murder Mystery.
Okay.
It's one
And we both like to say that we have mysteries in our families, both she and I.
because it's true.
And it's true. But I don't feel that we're at liberty to discuss them with the press.
Damn it! That sounds like such a good tease. How about the rest of you, Michael? Anything?
Well, we myself and Charles and Sarah Violet were working on something together during Serial, when Serial was first came out, and talking about it constantly, and loved how much time we spent talking about who did it, who did what do you think? All of the ambiguity of that story, it was so fun to talk to your friends about it. I mean, it's sad because that's like actually happening to somebody. But and so I don't mean to make light of it, but it is entertainment, let's be honest. And that for me anyway, there was and Lily too, we talked about this in the early stages of like figuring out what kind of a show this was going to be, was like, it really was exciting. And of course, Twin Peaks is another show that I think of. From the minute this show starts, it's creepy. You know, like right off the bat, you know you're in like a kind of creepy world. And so I think that's for me was some of the stuff.
We also talked about Fargo as a comp for the comedy, which is like that movie is so sad and so dark and still hilarious. So as we got into some of the tougher scenes, we tried to understand how that movie and Coen Brothers stuff in general work, because it's such a great combination of dark and funny.
As soon as we started talking about making a mystery, it was instantly so exciting because I think that there's like themes about like our generation that we are both really interested in exploring, and sometimes it feels like that's very well tread terrain at this point in TV. And having a mystery element to the show has been such a cool angle to work out, because these people are searching for themselves, and a lot of the themes of the show, and especially in the pilot, is like sort of the gray areas about like the ethics of being a good person and considering yourself a good, whether you're a good person or not, and helping other people, and is it because you want to be seen helping someone, or you want to be thought of as a helpful person, and you know, it's like an entry. The mystery is an entry point into what we want to say about our generation.
And we had talked a lot about how on social media, there's almost a competition when someone passes away over whose eulogy on social media is more impressive, and suddenly you feel like, oh well, my tweet about this dead person wasn't like thoughtful enough or something, and there's this like competitive nature to who cares more, like who, you know, and it's so, you know, Charles, you know, the word Charles and Sarah Violet was using was performed grief. Was that what it was?
I
think it was performed grief.
It wasn't grief. Performed.
Mourning.
Performed.
Eulogizing?
Y'all come back tomorrow.
But anyway, but I mean, just that idea that, and we see it in the show of how Portia is, or the way Elliot, the John Early character, immediately sends out a tweet, you know, and about how bad he feels and da-da-da, and it is sort of like, you know, there's a superficiality to it, but that then the show is trying to find out, like, but what's underneath that? Is there something deeper underneath that? And as Charles said, they are trying to figure themselves out as they're also trying to, in series, find out what happened to Chantal.
And it's so much of that is about co-opting other people's trauma and making other people's trauma part of your own identity, and how sort of gray the selfishness of that is, because you're still sort of bringing attention to that person's trauma, but it's not your trauma necessarily. But the internet has suddenly made us all feel very entitled to do that.
Right, yeah. You guys have worked, Michael, you've worked with them before, and I know you guys were here with Fort Tilden a couple years ago. I guess how have you guys developed, do you think, as filmmakers, and like how have you seen them develop as well? Sorry.
Well, I taught these guys, I was an adjunct screenwriting teacher at NYU Grad Film School, and they were students of mine. And, you know, right off the bat, they both had a strong comic, like very strong comic point of view. And I think you know, they've developed enormously since we probably met 6 years ago or something like that. But I think in Fort Tilden, we were talking about this earlier today, I think what's different about Fort Tilden and Search Party is that in Fort Tilden, the main two characters are hard to identify with. They're challenging protagonists. Dory, Alia's character, is really, I think, and we were very intentional about this, in Charles and Sarah Violet as well, and this is kind of maybe where I've seen them sort of take a step out of like this, like really misanthropic, into to where we really want the audience to identify with Dory's struggle. She's really struggling in a way that that I think makes you connect to her, and that's sometimes hard when you're telling stories, generational stories. You know, the disenchanted young characters, the sort of you know, the jaded young people, but like Dory's like very much got her heart on her sleeve which I think really sucks us into wanting to go on this journey with her. And I just think, just in terms of Sarah, Violet, and Charles, in terms of where we went, kind of one major evolution from Fort Tilden to this was to find a way into not getting into sentimental territory, but at the same time having a main character that an audience would identify strongly with. Would you agree with that, Sarah, Violet, and Charles?
Yes.
Yeah, definitely. And I think what Michael and Lily do for us is they are but like such genius people with story and big story and like so much of a murder. I mean, not murder. Sometimes I say murder mystery, but don't let that make you think I accidentally saying something that's true. With a mystery, it's like you need a story arc, and so it's, and also these actors all are so magical, and they bring so much personality that I feel like everyone is contributing to this thing together, and we're finding the tone of the show together.
I love John's character. I feel like with the he's just such a great mansplainer, but like super nice guy asshole. Basically, I think that's just like really fun. And there's a lot of layers. I just think it's a really great character, and there's a lot of layers there that is super fun. Is that like, what were you excited about with that role?
Yeah, I mean, he just doesn't listen, you know. He's a bad listener. And it is that thing of he always wants to make everything fine, but it's not fine.
Right.
Where it's almost like a selfish thing where he's like, I wish everyone around me would be fine so that my life could be boring again. But it's like, that's not the case for him.
Did you improvise that song, or was that something that you guys all worked on together?
Yeah, there was it? I think I
Tastes
improvised
like
some
wrote
of
it.
it.
Tastes Like Heat and Rain was definitely in the script.
It was just Tastes Like Heat and Rain over and over.
She tastes like heat and rain.
She
I
tastes
don't
like
know what
heat
it
and rain.
means.
And then I had to learn that on the ukulele. And I mean, I thought it sounded awesome, but one of the guys in the crew was like, oh man, that sounds like shit. And I was like, that sounds like shit? And he's like, yeah, can't you hear it's out of tune? I was like, no.
I think that makes it much funnier though, because he thinks it sounds so good. Your character, you know, he's like
Yeah,
excited.
he's trying. I mean, he's trying stuff out, and he's like in his own little world, and yeah.
And how was shooting the sex scene?
That was great.
You're being realistic.
It was great. There was like a camera over me, and they were like giving me notes on how to ejaculate, you know?
Yeah.
And then it was so funny. It was like, hey, move your shoulder, you're blocking Alia's face, or like, maybe 2 pumps and you're done this time. Or like, more in your face, like grimacing. I think somebody told me that Showalter watched the scene like this. And when we were watching it back here, he was like, oh my God. Yeah, that is like when anybody who's seen it's like, hey, great job. Oh man, that's sexy. But it wasn't bad. I mean, did you think it was okay?
I thought it was lovely.
Yeah.
It is like
I
really
don't even
sad.
consider, yeah, it's kind of rough. I mean,
It's really sweet.
can we relate to it? That's, guys.
Can we relate to foot cramps? Am I right, guys? Yeah. Being a guy is tough.
Yeah. So
Just kidding.
I think it's great.
It's easy. Just kidding again.
I liked it because I was like, we've seen so many, like, I was just, like, stunned, like, you were saying, like, your mouth was agape. I was just like, wow, like, I've actually never seen it, like, that kind of sex scene before. So to have an original sex scene that's, like, appalling is really a great kind of tribute to the show as well, I think. So. Thank you guys. Yeah, great.
Chest hair on point.
I think we have time for questions from the audience. So I guess if you want to line up at the mics, we could start doing some of those as well. Sir, you're first up front here, so why don't you go?
Hi, great job, everyone. This question, since it got picked up by TBS, like, will anything have to be like edited because of the language? Because I don't think you can really say those things on TBS.
Bleeps.
It's actually not, it won't be edited that much. We're gonna throw some bleeps on there, but cable's getting pretty loose with it. So it's gonna mostly stay intact. We're gonna have to cut it down a little bit, but generally what you see is what you're gonna see when it airs.
Very cool. Over here?
It's super cool that you're doing a of the time, like generational type of thing. I was definitely getting a Scott Pilgrim or Girls type of vibe with it, but the one difference, and I think it makes it more effective, is that there's one use of Twitter, but other than that, there's no pop culture references, and there's no like in-your-face like musical cues. And I'm wondering, A, if like how you plan on sustaining that, and B, like what beyond like the costume design and just like that rooftop party was just very, it's very sincere. But like how do you do that, and how do you plan on sustaining that?
I think what interests us most in the writing is like the point of view of these characters and the types of behavior of these types of people, and I think that's kind of the thing that feels like the most relevant to the generation stuff. And I think it's always kind of annoying in TV shows when it's like, meanwhile at Momo's or like whatever, like I don't know, I don't like references. That's all.
I mean, the show in series takes us out of Williamsburg. I mean, we come back to it, but we go. These characters go and they try to find answers, and in searching for those answers, we're not in hipster Williamsburg. That's not really what the show's about. It's about these characters and their quest.
You mentioned music cue. And there's no over the top ones, but I love that. Purity Ring song that you have is like running through. Where'd you guys like? How'd you guys figure? Did you just like that song? Because it's such a great song and it's so perfect to the tension of the show.
I just looked on all of those like Pitchfork and like just I was looking for a song that like starts the way it starts, like so that it could transition from the search party into that, and that it would build, and that was like the main thing. And then when we found the Purity Ring song, we're like, we love this. It's so good.
It's really good, yeah. Next question up front here. Hi.
So I've recently come to the realization that most of my favorite shows, like Twin Peaks, The Killing, Top of the Lake, they all start with the girl going missing or dying. And I've wondered, like, what does that say about me, or what does that say about our culture? But I'm interested to see you guys kind of look at that question through the medium of a dark comedy rather than like a drama.
Yeah.
I mean, the question is, do you think that you're kind of answering that cultural, societal question about why is this so fascinating to us, and why do we feel like we need to be a part of it as well?
I think there's something fun about that trope as an entry point, and so it's something that, as the show progresses, you'll learn more about, you know, the backstory of this missing girl and the pursuit to find her. It's a fun beginning, I think, and I think it's just really a way to show Dory's helplessness, and for her ability to project onto this girl, you know, that she's a victim. Dory, I think the idea of victimhood, I think, appeals to Dory.
I think also, going back to Serial, there's something about being a sort of an amateur detective. There was a wish fulfillment in that and this is Manhattan Murder Mystery as well. There's a sort of fantasy I think we all have of solving a crime, and so we weren't really thinking of ourselves in the continuum of those shows per se, as much as the idea that this Dory character finds meaning in her life in trying to solve this crime. In a sense, it gives her meaning where there was no meaning before. And so, but then there's also a wish fulfillment in like, what would you do if someone in your life was in a dangerous situation and you could somehow insert yourself into the sort of the sleuthing part?
Have you guys ever tried to solve crimes before in real life, Ollie and Meredith?
Mine's actually very dark. I don't think
Too dark.
Yeah, no. A girl I knew when I was young went missing.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was really kind of scary. But there is this, I was too young, but I remember feeling this like palpable kind of voyeurism. And not in a negative way, but in a way that I think this show really taps on, is that it's like that weird thing where the building is burning and you're like, is it, like, I don't know. I think people find entertainment in really dark and disturbing places, and that's the aspect, that's like what you guys explore. So I remember feeling that in this, like I was in a search party very young, and I remember my family, it was like, you gotta teach her to like scare her out of like going too far, and you're like, yeah, search parties are actually very scary. Yeah, this is, see, dark. Yeah.
Yeah. No, nothing for you.
I grew up in Palm Springs. You're safe.
Next question up front here.
I'm from Portland, Oregon, and there's kind of an artisanal arms race between Brooklyn and Portland. And I just have to know so I can report back to my people. Are they really playing jacks at parties in Brooklyn? This is important, like my people are counting on me to come
Yes,
back.
I think probably so.
Okay.
And then
Those are our
also,
friends.
I've never been to a party where they don't play jacks.
I would also say, no offense, but I don't think that Brooklyn is aware of that arms race.
Wow. Mic drop on that.
I'm a big fan of Portland.
I really liked Portland when I visited. I
Damn.
promise.
Ice cold. Well, I think that's where we're gonna have to end it, honestly. We're out of time, so on the.
I live in Brooklyn. I've seen Dice play on a roof just like that. I thought you guys did it very well. You nailed it. And I wasn't aware of the arms race, but that's because we've always been from the lead, I think.
Wow. All right. Well, that's all the time actually we do have. So let's give a round of applause to the cast of the Search Party. Follow the search. Join the Search Party. Follow Search Party at Search Party TBS on Facebook and Twitter. And if you're in